And our last video and lesson for factoring is called Factoring Completely. And it's extra practice using all the skills that you've learned about factoring. So there's 6 examples. Let's get started. Alright, the first thing you want to do anytime you're factoring is always look and see if there is a greatest common factor. And if there is, always factor that out first. So in example 1, if we look at the 4, the 32, and the 80, I know just by looking at them that you can divide out a 4. So when I divide out a 4 from all 3 terms, I will end up with x squared plus 8x minus 20. Now I have a polynomial with a is 1, so I can factor that. And what I'm going to do, since a is 1, I want 2 numbers that multiply to negative 20, so they must multiply to negative 20, and they must add to 8. So let's see, I'll put my x here and my x there, and I'm looking for factors of negative 20 that add to 8. I can do 1 and 20, 2 and 10. Oh, I like 2 and 10, because if I subtract that, I know I'll get 8. So 2 and 10, I know one of them is positive and one is negative. If I let the 2 be negative and the 10 be positive, then I know I should have an 8 as my middle term. So I'm going to put minus 2, and then I'll put plus 10, and I can FOIL to check or double check that this is negative 2x and that's 10x. If I add those together, I'll get the middle term, 8x. So my answer, and remember the 4 that we factored out, is part of your answer. So that's your answer. Look at number 2. For number 2, always look for the greatest common factor first. I see that they both have a 2, so I'm going to factor out a 2. The 2 goes in front. It becomes part of our answer. And then I put what I have left in parentheses. So I have a squared left minus 16b squared. Now notice I don't have a middle term, so I'm going to check, is this the difference of 2 squares? And I see that it is. So if it's a difference of 2 squares, I bring down the 2 because that becomes part of my answer. And I'm going to factor the difference of 2 squares. So the square root of a squared is a, so I put an a and an a there. A times a is a squared. And then the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of b squared is b. So I have 4b and 4b. And then all I do is put a plus and a minus sign. Now I have factored that completely. Alright, 4 more examples. Example number 3, write it down. Notice that you have an x that is common to all 3 terms, and that's it. So we need to divide out that x. So I'm going to divide out an x as the greatest common factor, and that becomes part of my answer, and then I put the remainder in parentheses. So 2x cubed divided by x would be 2x squared. Minus 5x squared divided by x would be minus 5x. And then I would have minus 12. Now I need to factor this trinomial, so I would multiply the 2 times the negative 12 to get negative 24. And if you know how to do this, you can kind of pause this and then just check your answer. I need numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 5. So, in listing some of my factors, I see that I have an 8 and a 3. So 8 times 3, I need it to be negative, so 1 is negative and 1 is positive. So I'll take the negative 8 and the positive 3. So then I bring my x down, and then I'm going to split this into 4 terms, so 2x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 12. Alright, now I need to factor by grouping. So I'm going to factor this by grouping. And then I would divide out a 2x here. So I'm going to leave the x that I have and bring it down. Then I'm going to put the 2x in front. Okay, So then I'm going to divide. So I divide, I get an x minus 4. Then I'm going to divide this by 3. So I put the plus 3. And then I divide out, I get an x minus 4. Now notice that this x is multiplication, this first x. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take these two and put them into a binomial, and I'm just going to continue to bring my x down and put it in front. So I would have an x, then I would have the 2x plus 3, and then I would have the x minus 4. So basically 3 different terms that are multiplied together to get that answer. So again, what you factor out as your greatest common factor stays in front and is multiplied at the end. All right, example 4, I'm going to look and see what I can factor out. The GCF I see maybe is 2. So if I divide out a 2, I put that in front, and I would get 49r squared minus 100. And I look and see, since it has 2 terms and there's a subtraction sign in the middle, is this a difference of 2 squares? And I look and see that it is. So I will bring the 2 in front. And I think you should know how to do this by now. Take the square root of this, you get 7r, put it here. Take the square root of that, which is 10, and put that in both places, and then put a plus sign and a minus sign. And that should be your answer. 2 more. Okay, I'll work through these, and you can, if you would like, to pause and try to work these on your own and check your answer. Greatest common factor is 2. Divide by 2. Okay, notice this y should not be there, so get rid of that y. All right, now I multiply to find what I'm going to be looking for. So 3 times negative 8 is negative 24, so I need factors that multiply to negative 4 and add to 2. So I've chosen 6 and 4. The 6 is positive, 4 is negative. Then bring this down into 4 terms, and then you're going to group. Now I'm going to divide by 3x. Then I'm going to divide by a negative 4. If I do that, remember I put the negative 4 in front, and then divide, and I get x plus 2. So the way to write your answer is you're going to have 3 terms. You'll have the 2 in front, and then in parentheses you'll have 3x minus 4 times x plus 2. And that should be your answer. All right, try the last one on your own if you can, and then pause this and double check. Okay, I'm going to divide out a 3, it looks like, as the GCF. 3 in front, y squared plus 8y plus 15. And since a is 1, I can do the abbreviated version of this. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to c, which is 15, but add to b, which is 8. And the first thing that comes to mind is a 3 and a 5. So I would do 3, and then we would do y squared plus 3x plus 5y. That should be a y. Plus 15, and then group and factor.